This is Extra Paycheck Podcast, episode number 7.
You're listening to Extra Paycheck Podcast, where you will learn how to build and grow your own successful online business. Now, here's your host, Alex Soul.
Welcome to another episode of Extra Paycheck Podcast. This is episode number 7, and today I'll be talking with Adam Byrnes, who's directly responsible for expanding Freelancer.com to so many different countries and launching it in about 30 different languages. Today's topic of conversation is freelancing. So let's find out how you could use freelancing to help you grow and expand your business, or if you desire, how to become a freelancer yourself and make a living online. Enjoy today's show. Adam, welcome to the Extra Paycheck Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you here. And before we begin talking about freelancer.com, where you are an international director, I'd like to ask you something a bit more personal. These questions came to me mainly because I've read your profile, I think on LinkedIn. Actually, I think on freelancer.com and LinkedIn as well. And I read your background in education, and I was like, how is this guy working for freelancer.com? Why? So could you tell us a bit about your education and how did you make that big jump from your profession, let's say, to a completely different industry?
Sure. So, I studied advanced physics, majoring in photonics at Sydney University. And I did my honors and kind of got first class with that. And I guess, how did I make that switch to freelancer? Well, it's sort of a long story. Basically, what happened is in my last year of university, I was basically all that happened was I was looking kind of for a course that would be really easy to take. So, because I kind of had some coursework requirements I had to fill, and I thought, oh well, I normally find accounting courses and just kind of not really non-mathematical kind of stuff really easy, and I could use it to fill up some extra credit. So I took this course by the name of Technological Venture Creation, and that course was actually lectured by Freelancer's CEO, and so. Yeah, so I kind of arrived at this course thinking it would be a bit of a bludge, really easy and not take too much effort. But it turns out it was actually really hard. Took a lot of effort, took up a lot of time, but it was really rewarding too. And it kind of opened my eyes to entrepreneurship and to startups and to the world of tech, I guess. Because up until then I was kind of very, very focused on academia and science.
Yeah.
And so at the end of that course, I did quite well in it. And about six months later, when I was working as a researcher, Matt got in contact with me and he kind of offered, hey, I'm looking for someone to just kind of join a fairly general kind of role at Freelancer. Are you interested? And I thought, yeah, actually, this sounds like a really good opportunity, and I'm really glad I actually took that opportunity. Because I guess, before that I was kind of on track to do a PhD, but at Freelancer, it's a huge company. Well, a very quickly growing company, definitely, with massive amounts of opportunity. And so I guess that's kind of what drew me in, and it's why I'm still there today.
Well, I told you, I'm just surprised because it's such a big change in careers, which is
it is
surprising.
But there are a lot of crossover skills. So a lot of the kind of marketing that we do at Freelancer is done through algorithms, through statistics, all this kind of stuff. So we kind of do much more advanced versions of things like A/B tests and statistical analysis of our marketing and all this kind of stuff. And all those skills I actually learned from my physics and engineering degree. It kind of taught me how to think in that kind of way, so that when I arrived at Freelancer, I actually used my physics skills surprisingly regularly, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is. Sure, it is. All right, cool. So can you tell us a little bit more about freelancer.com? Mostly, I guess, for those for people who haven't heard of that business of
Sure.
that service yet. What is it?
So freelancer.com is basically a giant marketplace for services. The idea is the small business or a startup that needs to get something done can jump on Freelancer. They can post their job, and we, the marketplace, will link you up with one of 15 million freelancers from around the globe to fulfill
million.
that bit of work, basically. Yeah, 15 million of them. Which is, 15 million users. That's not strictly 15 million freelancers. That includes employers too.
That's a lot of people in one marketplace.
Yeah, I mean, one of our major goals as a company is to get the marketplace to be super liquid. So that if you post a job, you're going to get potentially hundreds of bids, and you're going to get them within minutes. And that's kind of where it's there today in most categories, which is pretty amazing. If you go on today and post a job to, build a website, you're all going to get hundreds of bids. And, your first bid will arrive instead of 10 to 20 seconds. I'm a freelancer. And then, you can basically go through the list. We have like a reputation system and portfolio. And so you can kind of, look through all the freelancers and be like, oh, I like this guy. He's worked before with 10 other different companies, and he has a really strong portfolio. I'll hire him to build my website.
Mm-hmm.
Or, I like this translator. She's, translated, this particular thing really well in the past, as seen in her portfolio, and people have left her really good reviews. And so that's typically the kind of the mindset of someone that's hiring on our site.
Yeah, that's cool. And 15 million people using the site. That's huge. Since this podcast is about making money online or using internet to build and grow your online business or your online venture or an offline business as well, but by using internet, which freelancing could do for you as well. If you're a local business, you still need graphics, you still need
absolutely
content and software.
Yeah, I mean, there's sort of two ways you can go about making money online through Freelancer, and I guess we can cover them both broadly. The first way is you can jump on and act as a freelancer. Many of our freelancers are actually companies that are listing their particular service on our site. So a lot of like web development companies, a lot of design agencies and things like that have profiles on our site and obtain work through our site. That's actually probably not the best way to make money online through our site, though. The best way to make money online is to kind of build a business online through Freelancer by hiring the freelancers that you need to kind of augment your skill set. So let's say, for example, that you're a designer, right? The first thing that you really want as a designer probably is a website. So you would go and do the design of the website, but you need someone to build it, and so you can go and you can hire a freelance developer, in a really cost-effective manner. And then you can hire a specialist to write the copy for you. You can hire a specialist to, do your marketing for you. You can hire another SEO specialist to make sure you rank well in Google. You can hire a social media marketer. And you can kind of build up like a portfolio of people, almost like employees kind of, that you can just call them whenever you want. Pay them, an hourly rate on a project by project basis. It kind of doesn't matter. The key is that you have access to this like giant global talent pool in just about anything you can imagine.
Yeah, well, I've actually bought some jobs on freelancer.com in the past, and what happened to me a few times as well is that I was asked to do something locally. I think it was usually design-wise, and I'm not a designer. I'm a marketer. I get along with Photoshop, with the basics, but it's just not my thing. Design is not my thing. And I had this local client who asked me for specific designs, and I told him, yeah, sure, I'll do it, because the money was good. So, I said yes before thinking that I can't really do it. What I ended up doing, I actually ended up hiring someone off of Freelancer to do that work. And what he needed was pretty specific and a little bit complicated. So we had to go through many reviews of the final products and so on. So in the end, I didn't really make much of a difference. I mean, I paid the freelancer maybe 75% of what I was paid for the project. But that's because the project was complicated. And in the end, still, the client was super satisfied. I didn't have to do the work. And I retained that person as for
Future jobs.
future businesses. He knows that he did a great design. If I need something else, let's say marketing services, he'll come back to me, which is I think also a huge value that you could get on freelancer.com. Things like that. If you cannot do it yourself, it doesn't mean that it cannot be done.
Exactly.
And a lot of people who start businesses online or who take their existing business online, a lot of them struggle to that because they try to be the jack of all trades, and you can't be good at everything, right?
No, and in fact, we're a business
impossible.
that believes very much in specialization. So even internally in the way the business is run, we don't really hire many generalists. We hire lots of specialists. Specialist programmers in certain languages, specialist Android developers, specialist iOS developers, specialist marketers. Everybody, in our company basically is a specialist, which is, really awesome. But at the same time, we also hire through our own site to do our own things. In fact, a funny story is that our lead designer was actually a freelancer on our site. And what we did is we were kind of looking for, this is about maybe a year or 2 years ago, and we were looking for a new homepage. And so we posted a contest on our site, which is kind of like a way that it's kind of like a slightly different project where you can crowdsource designs. And, our CEO, Matt, liked the winning designer's homepage so much, he actually hired him. He flew him out from Argentina. The guy was based. He flew him out to Sydney temporarily at first to kind of just work on, overhauling a bunch of the other pages as well as the homepage. But in the end, we ended up liking him so much that we gave him a visa, and he moved his whole family, including him and his wife, and I think he's got about 4 daughters.
Wow.
And so, but that guy, was originally a freelancer on our site. He still has his portfolio today, which is kind of cool. But we do that kind of thing all the time, where we hire our own freelancers to kind of augment our business or kind of help us out when we're time poor, or if we don't have a specific skill that we actually, really need.
Yeah, totally. And I guess it also shows that you guys are proud of your own product and your own service, since you're hiring people through your own
Absolutely,
website.
yeah. I mean, I do it all the time, especially like for odd jobs, like things like editing, whenever I write an article or have to write some copy for a page on the site or something like that, I have an editor based in the UK, and I just farm the work out to him, and he hands it back to me an hour later, spelling mistake, grammar mistake free, basically. And not only that, he's also really good in that he kind of provides some extra comments, I think you should focus more on this angle, or this paragraph is unnecessary, all that kind of stuff, which is, pretty awesome, given that I probably pay him, I think, about 10 to 15 pounds an hour.
Yeah, wow. And Adam, can you tell me, does it happen often that your clients do the same thing as you do, that they actually hire freelancers from other countries and they end up importing them into their country, giving them a visa and hiring them locally?
I have heard of this happening before. Anecdotally, there was a kind of a funny story in that we run a recruiter program, and part of that recruiter program is, we have staff, in the freelancer offices that will kind of manually make the match. And one of them managed to make a match. There was a guy in Norway who ran, I think it was an oil rig or some sort of oil boat. And his boat had or his rig or whatever it was, had some sort of mechanical defect, and he was looking for a mechanical engineer. And I mean, we cover a lot of projects on Freelancer, but there was kind of a bit of a kind of mood going around the office. People like, now, I'm not entirely sure we'll be able to fill this job, right? Because this guy in Norway wanted to fly someone out to his rig, fix it, and then fly them home.
Wow.
It turns out we actually were able to find a guy. He was a Spanish retired mechanic. No, not retired. Sorry, a Spanish mechanical engineer who saw the job and thought, you know what? Yeah, I can do this. He put his hand up, and so the guy from Norway literally flew him out. They fixed the problem, flew him back, and then they paid him through the site, which is
wow,
a pretty amazing kind of story. But it kind of goes to show, that you really can get any service done. I mean, I've seen jobs go through for things like architecture, 3D modeling, astrophysics, engineering. I mean, I can go right now and jump onto the site and just browse through the engineering and science section, and there's some pretty amazing jobs, things that I would have thought there's just no way that you could outsource. But it turns out, it kind of continually surprises me, to be honest. The kind of things that you can get done on the site. We have loads of kind of quirky projects. One guy we had the other day, through this recruiter program, that he was looking to design a unique toilet seat or something. Like we see all sorts of weird stuff go through.
Yeah, like kettles.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's just amazing, really. I'm going through, the engineering and science section here. There's a job in the astrophysics category, climate science, data mining, imaging, and these imaging jobs. These jobs are all real. Like, I'm going through the imaging section right now, live jobs on the site. Brain image segmentation using fuzzy mathematics. I need a consultant, 4 bids.
Wow.
$200. Let's see. Accurate fingerprint identification and enhancement using, I can't even say that, minutiae points. I need help in regards with a person who is familiar with OpenCV software. Please let me know as soon as possible. 2 bids.
Yeah, that's pretty specific, and it's something that I wouldn't expect from a freelancing website. You usually expect some IT, some development, some web design, but not that.
Yeah, I know. I mean, as I said, it continually shocks me.
Yeah, it's great though. It's really amazing.
Yeah.
It's also really amazing to know that, once again, for both sides, that as a client you could get someone who's a mechanical engineer to help you out on the side, and that you as a mechanical engineer could actually make some side income on a freelancer.com.
Absolutely. I mean, and we see that happen all the time. Like this guy in Spain, I think he was basically just out of work because, of the Euro crisis and all that kind of stuff. And through the site, he was able to meet with, a Norwegian where, 10 years ago, that just would have been impossible.
Yeah, totally.
Which is pretty amazing, and it's kind of great for both parties. The Norwegian guy got his boat fixed, or whatever it was, oil rig, I can't remember. And the Spanish guy found some work, and he got paid a very substantial amount of money as well. I can't tell you exactly what the amount was, but it was in the thousands of euros.
Could only imagine. Yeah. I asked you this question because I actually received quite a few emails from people from countries like India and Pakistan and Ukraine and Russia. These people who are, some of them are freelancers, some of them are not yet, but they specialize mostly in IT. And they're all asking me the same question. They're like, do you think it's possible to get hired and to actually get a visa from one of those clients on like freelancing websites? Is it possible that I'll do a great job and they'll end up actually giving me a visa and inviting me to live in their country?
It wouldn't surprise me. Let's put it that way. I mean, I've when we have, I think we've had about 7.5 million jobs go through the site, and I am sure that kind of thing happens. I do know of an Australian woman who she was, I can't remember what she was trying to get done. I think it was just a website, and she hired a guy in India. She was a marketer by trade, funny enough, and she hired a guy in India to build it, who actually owned his own web development company. In the end, those two ended up doing a joint venture, and she launched her business in India, and they kind of merged their businesses in the end. And then he flew to Australia and launched his business in Australia. So, today they actually work together permanently as co-founders in this kind of new web development and marketing firm. Because,
Wow.
it kind of makes a lot of sense, right? Like you build a website, but, that's great. You have a new website, but now you need to get it some traffic.
Yeah.
And, where do you go for that? Well, if you can do that in-house, that's even better, right? Because you make the money. But yeah, so, and funnily enough, they are still finding work on Freelancer. But we have all sorts of kind of weird anecdotal stories like that. There was another guy. There was a guy in a US prison who basically ended up working from prison through the site. I think he was doing like design work or something. We see all sorts of like really kind of interesting, weird, kind of quirky stories come up every day. Because I guess we have about 5,000 jobs get posted every day, and even if 1% of them is something kind of interesting or quirky, that's like that's 50 jobs a day,
Yeah.
which is loads.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so Adam, tell me, I'm a freelancer from, anywhere in the world, and I want to make extra money on freelancer.com. So I go to the website. What happens next?
You want to make extra money, you're a freelancer. Well, the first thing you got to do is create an account. So you kind of jump on the site. You'll see that it offers you kind of two options: hire or work. You can make money either way. I think is my first point, right? Like you don't have to make money just by working. You can use it to kind of augment your existing way of making money. So if you're an internet marketer, you can improve your website, or you can improve your design, or you can hire like a copywriter to kind of do a lot of that kind of stuff for you. That's the first way. If that's the way you want to do it, you hit the hire button. It'll then ask you to post a project, so to describe your job, blah blah blah. You fill out the budget, and then you hit post, and then the bids will start flowing in, and then you just select one of them. We have a milestone payment system, and I'll quickly explain this because it's important on the freelancer side too. So the idea there is that, let's say that I was doing a job for you. The way it would work is you would deposit the money onto Freelancer into what we call a milestone. And then you choose to release that money to me, the freelancer, only when the work is done and when you're satisfied with the quality. If you're not satisfied, we'll give you the money back, basically.
So this is kind of like escrow service.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Very, very similar. And so we offer that. But going back to the other side, so the working side. So again, you sign up, you hit work. It'll then get you to create an account, and then once you create an account, it'll ask you to select your skills. This is really important because your skills are basically how we, the marketplace, know what jobs to show you. So if you select Node.js, PHP, JavaScript, and a bunch of other kind of IT things, then we'll show you IT related jobs, build, website jobs, scripting jobs, coding jobs, all that kind of stuff. And we'll show it to you based on the fact that we know that because you selected Node.js, you want jobs related to Node.js, and so on and so forth. But so that's why selecting your skills and selecting kind of all the things, all the kinds of jobs that you want to work on, that's probably the first and one of the most important steps.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing that we'll ask you to do, well, firstly, we'll start showing you jobs straight away, and you can see you can click on them, you can bid on them, and you can basically get going on the platform. But before you do that, what I would do is I would go back and I'll improve my profile. So when you start on the site, you'll have a blank profile. You'll have no profile image. You'll have no portfolio, no description of yourself and what you do. So the first thing I'd do is I'd go back and I'd fill that in. I'd do it in detail. It's really, really important because the first thing that an employer does when they might get 100 bids. And when you start out, you don't have a reputation on the site. So you're relying on the fact that you have an awesome portfolio, an awesome profile, and you can communicate with the employer really, really well. Those are kind of the things that you have that you can do to stand out. And that's why, communication is key. But not only that, getting your profile right and uploading all of your previous work that you may have done off Freelancer into your portfolio is really important when you're starting out. Because once you win your first couple of jobs, you're just going to find it gets exponentially easier. I'm going to be honest, it can be tough to get the first job. But again, once you do, you've got a reputation on the site, and then you can trade on that, which is the most powerful thing to trade on of all, probably along with portfolio. And so sign up, select your skills, portfolio, profile, fill all that out. Another thing that you can do is you can sign up for a free plus membership trial. I would probably recommend doing that too. And the reason for that is, firstly, we're giving it to you for free for a month, and you can always cancel it if you're not interested in staying on. Otherwise, I think it's $10 a month, which isn't all that much, to be honest. But anyway, so we'll give you your first month to you free. Now, why would I do that? The first thing is that you'll get like a little badge that employers know that they'll assume that you're a bit more serious because you have a membership on the site. The other reason that I would do that is because it kind of enables a couple of extra features for you. You can bid more. When you first start out, a free account doesn't get a lot of bids every month. But if you go up to a plus trial, you get loads of bids, probably more than most people would ever need. And so having that first month, being able to bid a lot more, especially because you're not going to find it as easy to win jobs at the very start. Because again, the whole point is once you get started, once you start getting some reputation through the site, once you start completing jobs, that's when it'll start to get easier and easier and easier. So yeah, that's probably my advice from a freelancer side.
Yeah, and I really enjoy the free trials usually because, as you said, it gives you a really great opportunity to try it out and to see if it's a good fit for you. Because, if someone tries it and it works out well for them because, well, they put in the effort to look for a job, right? Mm-hmm. So they get it for free, they get a few jobs, and you get one single job and it's already gonna pay off your membership
easily
for many months to come. So people who will take advantage of it and get a job, they will love it, and they would be gladly paying you $10 a month just for that plus feature. And people who don't use it within that month, it's normally people that wouldn't be active anyway.
That's
so
what
it's kind of
we
like,
find too.
Yeah, look, it's not for you then. It's not for you. It's good. What I really like, what I'm telling you, is that people actually have a chance to try it for a full month for free without, spending money. Because when you have to spend money right off the bat, you're like more skeptical about it.
Exactly. Yeah. And so we try and make it completely free for both employers and freelancers to kind of start off on the platform. The only time you pay, basically, is when you're either making money or when you're getting something done. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like when it's actually going ahead. We don't make you pay just to explore or use the site. We only make money when our users make money because we're a commission-based site.
Yeah. So yeah, you take
we take about 10% of everything.
Take a part of the payment once the payment goes through, not any time before.
Yeah,
that's actually pretty great as well because.
That's strictly not true. So we take a payment once we make a match, a commission once we make a match. Now, for larger jobs, we don't do that. For larger jobs, we take it out of the actual money that flows through the site. But for smaller jobs, we take it when a match is made.
Yeah, but you don't take like another commission after the job is complete.
No. Only one.
Yeah. So basically, in the end, it's not the same, but it's very similar.
Yeah.
You still only charge when there is actually something happening. Not
That's
just,
right.
Like you mentioned, you don't charge people to post a job or to bid on a job.
Yeah.
Normally, you could start without paying anything at all. Yeah, that's awesome. And Adam, I have a question here. I've actually asked you that question before on another webinar that we were together where you were doing a presentation. I personally would go to Freelancer because a lot of the freelancers on that website are from countries, let's say poorer countries. Mm-hmm. So they charge less money for specific projects, let's say. And from a freelancer coming from one of the Western countries, how can they compete with those people from countries that charge a lot less?
Well, surprisingly easily. There's kind of a couple of factors that go into this. The first is that when you're on Freelancer, one of the first things you kind of have to realize is that you have no business overhead. Your overhead is like your rent for your house and, maybe some equipment to get started, a bit of software. So you have zero overhead. Normally in the kind of traditional world in say like Canada or something, you might be competing, as a designer, for example, as a freelance designer, you might be competing with agencies, and agencies will charge a lot of money. And so from a business's perspective, when they arrive on Freelancer, they've typically just been quoted from a web design agency or something like that. And so they arrive, they look at any of the prices on Freelancer and think, wow, that's a massive saving compared to the, tens of thousands of dollars that I got quoted to build a website. And all these bids are on the orders of, hundreds or maybe, low thousands. And so immediately they're in a saving mindset. The second thing is that people pick based on quality, it turns out. And we actually had a Stanford University economics study done on our site, basically to answer that exact question. What do people pick? Like, what do employers pick? Like, what's the main thing they look for? And the short answer is quality. Price matters very, very little, actually. The only time when I would tend to, as say a freelancer from the USA or something like that, the only time I would tend to bid really low is when you're very first starting out. And the only reason for that is, again, you don't have that reputation on the site. So the employers are they're basically taking a risk on you purely based on the fact that you can talk well and you have a strong portfolio, but they don't actually know if you can do the job based on past experience with other people.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's probably the one time as a US or Australian or Canadian or whatever it may, or UK based freelancer, that's kind of the one time when I'd say, okay, maybe do drop your prices for that particular moment until you've accumulated a couple of jobs on the platform. As soon as you've done that, I would just charge what you do in the offline world. I mean, you need to make a living too, and absolutely you can compete. I hire freelancers from countries like Canada and the States and the UK all the time. As I kind of mentioned earlier, my editor is based in the UK,
Mm-hmm.
and I can tell you he pulls in a substantial amount of money. I actually looked him up the other day. Obviously, I can't reveal what that is, but he freelances full time through the site. He works half in France, half in the UK, and he makes quite a lot of money.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so
And
he doesn't do poorly for himself at all.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, it is UK. He's not based in Pakistan or Ukraine or something.
No,
yeah, he's
although
UK based.
yeah, but at the same time, as a business, if you're kind of looking for really cheap prices, like you're really on a budget, people from India and people from the Ukraine will do probably just as good a job. I mean, I think it's kind of like a modern fallacy that people from India can't do the job as well as someone from Canada. That's just not really true anymore. The rise of online education systems,
Mm-hmm.
the powerhouse IT economies, all these kind of things, all these kind of long-term macro trends, the rise of the internet, the availability of software, all these kind of things are really kind of combining to basically enable, anybody from around the world to compete with each other.
I see really great stuff done, and honestly, it's hard to tell if there is the mentality still, because in the space that I'm working in the industry that I'm involved, we kind of lost that mentality that India, let's say, equals bad quality, right?
Yeah, I mean, but I think I still see it. Sometimes I certainly see
Mm-hmm.
employers kind of approach our recruiter program and they might say I would rather not hire any Indians. And we're like, well, why is that? Like, these guys are going to do the job just as well as someone in the States. And so often, we manage to bring them around, because our best IT, our best guys to produce, just standalone websites for e-commerce businesses, our best freelance for that is based in India. He's an absolute champion. We've lost count of the amount of websites that he's produced, and I'd be happy for them to be my website. I mean, the quality is exceptional, and we use him all the time. So yeah, I mean, it's certainly something that we see a little bit of, but it's also something that just really isn't true.
What you just said about, let's say, bidding less on the first project to build up your portfolio.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually thinking about it, and it's the same thing for freelancers in the real world.
Absolutely.
Let's say you're a wedding photographer in the US. Your first 2 or 3 weddings, for sure, you're gonna do them for free.
Yeah.
You're not even going to charge a little bit. You're actually going to shoot your first weddings for free for your friends or friends of your friends. Once again, just to build up that portfolio. Once you have a few weddings
under your belt,
shot for free, then you start charging really little, because people don't know you, they don't know what to expect, you don't have confidence either. So you charge $500, then next month you're charging $1,000, and you build up your portfolio and you start charging what you wanted to charge from the beginning. So it's actually not much all that different from,
in fact,
the real world.
Generally, everything that we see in the offline world, we see in the online world. And that's just a general kind of observation of, being at this business for 3 years now. I constantly see trends. One of the other ones I see is the concept of outsourcing. So what happens sometimes is we see jobs that actually that are posted on the platform, bidded on by a freelancer. That freelancer then picks up that job and then outsources that back through freelancer again. So so often what you'll see is someone like a US-based web developer might pick up a project, and it might be build me a website for my cafe, and then the US-based web developer might be useless at the design. So what he'll do is then he'll go and post another job, design a website for this same cafe, and then
Yeah,
and then a designer in Argentina will grab that. But then that designer in Argentina is like, well, I'm not native English. What copy are we going to put on in this? And so it goes back through the website again.
Wow.
We do see that, absolutely, and it's kind of a funny trend, and it's not something that we have any problem with, because at the end of the day, if the cafe owner is happy, then the cafe owner is happy, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
It doesn't really matter how the work got done.
Yeah, as long as it gets done.
That's right.
I wanted to ask you another question. This one is about people hiring freelancers through your website.
Mm-hmm.
What would you recommend to look at or to pay attention to when someone is hiring a freelancer? What should they be worried about, and how should they base their decision?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This one's like a really, really common question that we get, and it's something we've kind of studied, right? Because one of our jobs is to make sure that our matchmaking algorithms kind of mimic what people do in real life, and are able to make good predictions based on the way that people want to choose a freelancer. Anyway, so going back to the question, there's a couple of things. The first is reputation. Reputation is really, really, really key. Like, I can't stress it enough. Freelancers that have a solid 5-star reputation means that they have worked before for people that have had a great experience. There is no better indication that you will have a good experience than if someone else has had a good experience with them in the past. That said, there is one thing that is slightly more important, in my opinion. Now, this one is something that I've noticed through my kind of practical experience hiring through the site myself. And this is a bit of an inside tip. The best stat, even more than reputation, and it kind of needs reputations for this stat to make sense, is repeat hire rate. The single best predictor of whether or not a freelancer is good or not is their repeat hire rate. Because it turns out that if they're getting all their business through existing clients who are just coming back for more and more and more, what does that say about the quality of their work and their service, right? Like if their existing clients just can't get enough. And so typically, I usually look for a repeat hire rate. Anything higher than about 20% is good. That means that about 20% of their jobs are coming from people that have given them a job before. Now, if you see one in excess of sort of 30 or 40%, that's when you know that you found an exceptional freelancing. Anybody who maintains a repeat hire rate above 40%, that's just exceptional. Because as I said, like there's just no better predictor than if someone just can't get enough of their work. And I've seen freelancers on our site that actually have in their profile, do not hire me. All I have maintained this profile for is getting existing work. They don't bid. They don't do anything. Their clients essentially come to them.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, and they're like, I just can't take on any more work at the moment, and so we see that quite a bit. The other things to look for, portfolio is really important. Really, really important. I mean, as I said, if you can't, find out that another business similar to yours has had a good experience going, by hiring that particular freelancer, the next best thing is like, do I like the work that they actually do? Is it something that I actually, resonate with, especially for things like design and copywriting, right? And websites too. So like if you're kind of looking to get a website built or something like that, ask yourself the question, do I actually like the stuff that's in their portfolio? Yeah. Because at the end of the day, design especially is really subjective. And so, what another business might love a designer because, their designs really resonate with them, but you might hate those designs, or you might just think they're average because it is so subjective. And so portfolio is really key too. So not only should you look for, say, a designer with an exceptional repeat hire rate, so on and so forth, but you should make sure their portfolio, you actually like it yourself.
To be honest, if I would be hiring a freelancer and the person, it's not only about what they put on their profile, but if I see that the person didn't even take time to fill it out, I would be a bit skeptical about hiring this person. Be like, look, you could at least fill it out, If you didn't take time to do that, to describe what you're good at and
absolutely
what experience you've had, if you've had any, just basic stuff. If you can't take 5 minutes to write that down, I'm not gonna hire you.
No, exactly. And so that's something that's absolutely true. And that kind of comes back to the advice I was giving to people that are looking to list their services. Fill out your portfolio, fill out your profile, because otherwise people will take that attitude. They'll sort of think, why haven't they done this? What does that say about them and the quality of their work? Basically, when you're starting out as a freelancer, one of the key things you should think to yourself is, would I hire me? Based on my current, portfolio, based on my description in my, based on everything that you can do on the site, would I personally hire me?
Yeah.
The other key is to write, from a freelancer's perspective, is to write, and I forgot this one earlier, is to write long bids. Not long, but to really spend time writing your bid, because your bid is your first attempt and your best attempt to communicate with the employer. The whole point of your bid is to get the employer to open a chat message with you, like a chat conversation with you, to initiate that conversation. Because you as a freelancer typically can't initiate that conversation with the employer. Your first and your only chance is during the bid. If the employer likes you or likes your bid, likes your portfolio, then they'll open a chat message with you. If they do that, then you're really in business, right? Like, then you're really doing well.
Yeah.
So the whole point, ask them, just chat with me if you have any questions, or, chat with me and we can talk about your project. Ask them questions too. That's another thing.
Yeah.
As a freelancer, ask the employer questions about their project. Firstly, it shows them that you actually bothered to read the description. They didn't just see to design a website for a cafe and then skip over, what your cafe is about and the kind of vibe that it gives off and the food that it serves and whatever else, right? So, a lot of people might just skip over that stuff. No, ask questions about it. Do you serve steak? Are you thinking of changing your menu anytime soon? What kind of clients does your cafe attract? Ask questions like that, because again, these employers are going to be looking through the bid list, and they're going to see the fact that you've asked them a question, and maybe they'll respond, which means that you'll have a conversation going now. As soon as you have a conversation, that's when you can really start to sell yourself.
Totally.
Because we have a real-time chat system in the site, kind of similar to like Facebook chat or Skype chat or something like that. And so you can chat with the employer, but the employer has to initiate the chat with you. Coming back to the employer side of things, the reason for that actually is that, if we just let everybody chat with everybody, then you can imagine as an employer, you got 100 people trying to chat with you. That's crazy, right? Like, no. You as the employer have to initiate the conversation. So don't worry, you won't get spammed.
Yeah, that's actually a good thing.
Yeah, a very, very deliberate choice on our part to not allow freelancers to chat with the employer. So that means your first and possibly only chance at communicating is through the bid. So make sure you spend time on it. And I can tell you now, a lot of kind of big freelancers who have lots of feedbacks on the site, they might not spend so much time bidding, right? Because they're trading on their feedback. And so again, one area where you can get ahead of the established players is by crafting your bid and spending a lot of time making sure it's really good. On the other side, as an employer, that's something to look for, right? Someone who writes like a crappy bid, what does that say about the way that they're going to treat your project, right? Where if you kind of go through, you see that you have 20 bidders on your project, and most of them are just kind of standardized bids, or they look a bit like a template or something like that. And then you see one person that's kind of really bothered to read your description. That's immediately a really positive sign, because that really means that they're engaging with your project. They've understood. They've actually bothered to kind of show a bit of effort, which is really, really, really positive.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Right, thanks for answering that.
That's all right.
And I hope after listening to this podcast, some people will become freelancers and some others will become clients of your website. So we're approaching the 50-minute mark, so it's time to wrap it up. I'll ask you one more question, and this will be really interesting for internet marketers and for those who have been around for a long time. About a year ago, actually, I think in April 2014, Freelancer.com purchased the Warrior Forum.
That's right, yeah.
So a year ago, it's exactly a year ago right now. So can you tell me a little bit more about that? What was the reasoning for purchasing such a large and known website for a pretty decent amount of money as well?
Yeah.
And how it's been working out for you?
Absolutely. So Warrior Forum was a really interesting play for us, and I'll kind of give you a bit of history. We as a business, and like our original marketing guy at Freelancer was also a Warrior Forum member. And so we kind of took a lot of the kind of things that we learnt off Warrior Forum and used them ourselves. But actually, before I go any further, let me just describe to your readers what Warrior Forum is in case they don't know about it. Well, Warrior Forum is the world's largest internet marketing forum. Basically, what goes on there is internet marketers will kind of trade secrets. They'll chat to each other. They'll sell each other internet marketing products. And it's just a complete treasure trove of information if you're an internet marketer, because there are some really, really like high-end internet marketers on that site. Really, really, really high-end. And you would never know. There are guys that have made millions and millions of US dollars, just by internet marketing through Warrior Forum alone. Not even selling their product outside of Warrior Forum.
Yeah.
And, these guys are, that's essentially their business. But, there's just a massive amount that you can learn about how to, get traffic to your website, how to optimize your website, all that kind of stuff. Warrior Forum is just the perfect resource for that. Now going back to why we bought it is we actually used it as a resource for growing Freelancer. And we would, be regular readers on the site and all this kind of thing. And then one day, we kind of learnt that, potentially it was up for sale and all this kind of thing. And so we kind of thought, why don't we buy this business? It makes a lot of sense for us as a marketplace because, a lot of the guys on Warrior Forum are essentially internet marketing freelancers.
Yeah.
And so really it's just a clear strategical play in that way, right? Like the decision in hindsight looks really obvious because we're basically buying, a massive resource for all of our internet marketing freelancers. And internet marketing is kind of one of our top 8 major categories. And by buying that website, we're really able to augment both websites. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's kind of, a really important thing for us to kind of deliver that kind of value back because, that way we're able to improve the quality of internet marketing on Freelancer, which means that when businesses come and post jobs, the internet marketers on our site are likely to be much, much better, and they're likely to use Warrior Forum as a resource. Yeah. Which in turn makes people come back and post projects. On the Warrior Forum side, we've suddenly given them direct access to a giant marketplace of talent. And, these guys are selling internet marketing products. So they need things like copywriters, websites, scripts, all these kind of things that, before they would potentially, be either hiring, locals or whatever, right? Where now they have access to this huge resource. Yeah. So strategically, it was a really good play for us. The business is also really solid. Like there's a lot of really interesting things that go on there. And I guess one of our major innovations in the past kind of year has been the introduction of the Warrior Ask Me Anythings. So what's happened there is we've actually got guys that have been on Warrior Forum and then gone on to develop, huge businesses. So, there was Rand Fishkin, who was the first internet marketer, or I believe the first, or one of the first internet marketers at Facebook. There's Armand Morin. I probably killed the pronunciation of his name, but this guy's made literally millions and millions of dollars through internet marketing. And what we do is we kind of sit them down for maybe a little bit more than an hour and we just interview them. And we kind of ask them questions from the audience. Things like, how do I go about optimizing my website to increase, its ranking in Google? That's obviously a very simple question for readers that aren't kind of internet marketing savvy. But another one might be, how do I optimize my header tags for Google and all this kind of stuff, like all these kind of little questions, and they'll get them answered by an absolute expert in the field. And we've had all sorts of really quite famous internet marketers or people who are related to the internet marketing community come on the show. Another person that came on the show was Joanna Weib. I probably mispronounced her name, but she's basically the best copywriter in the world. Again, we used her product over and over and over, like to optimize the copy on Freelancer, and we were like, why don't we just get her on the show? This makes no sense. Why don't we let everybody on Warrior Forum kind of benefit from her knowledge? And so she's basically the founder of Copy Hackers, which for those of you who need to write copy for whatever reason, I cannot recommend it enough. We use it. Yeah, it's just a great resource, and it kind of boggles me to think that someone could write well over literally hundreds and hundreds of pages about how to write copy for a headline or how to write copy for a call to action.
It's incredible, huh?
It really is incredible that there is such a science in that. But there is. And so today, whenever I want to write a headline, I go back and I reread, the correct section of Copy Hackers, and I kind of skim through it, right? Because it is quite long and in depth. And then I'm like, oh, that's right. So, I need to make sure I use possessive nouns, rather than just general nouns, because those convert more. I should, A/B test long and short form CTAs. Long form CTAs do work. This is quite a kind of technical discussion, but it's the sort of questions that also get asked in the AMA, the Warrior AMA. Should I write long CTAs or short CTAs? And from memory, and the answer to that question is both. Just depends on the circumstance.
Exactly. Yeah.
But then you can get someone like Joanna to kind of go through and kind of tell you exactly when to kind of choose between the two, and then how to write them. And that's a completely invaluable resource for anybody who's looking to make money online. So yeah, absolutely, I would sign up to Warrior Forum. I'll go through and I would read all of the forum posts, to be honest, like as many as you can. But there's a few sections that are really important. Copy is really important. I think as a business, perhaps in the past, we underestimated how much the quality of your writing on a website actually matters to how much that website converts. You can easily just by improving your copy on your website, double or triple the amount of money that it makes, which is truly crazy. And but as I said, the best part is that there's a whole science about how to write really, really well. It isn't kind of some sort of black art or something that only a couple of people know, or it's not something you're born with. It's something you can learn.
Yeah.
And
it's something you can hire someone to do for you.
Absolutely. That's exactly right. And if you can't be bothered learning it, hire someone on Freelancer to do it for you.
All right. Great stuff, man. Thank you so much for this interview.
No worries. Thanks for having me on. And I hope that your listeners kind of got something out of it.
So I'm pretty sure they did. I'll be putting up links in the show notes for the show for everyone interested. So yeah, once again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I am so thankful to each and every one of you who tuned in to yet another episode of Extra Paycheck Podcast. Now, if you head over to extrapodcast.com/7, you'll be able to find today's episode's show notes. This is where I mention all the resources, links, and other information that's been mentioned in today's episode. You could also go to extrapodcast.com/iTunes and leave a review and subscribe to the show. The reviews help the show tremendously, and they also help me stay motivated and keep on producing this show. Thank you so much once again, and don't forget, you are awesome.